Welcome back. Pi Network is once again bringing its community back into the testing phase of its ecosystem development, giving users another early opportunity to interact with a major feature before the official Mainnet rollout. This time, the experience is designed to be noticeably smoother and more straightforward compared to previous trials, especially for users who found earlier processes a bit complicated. The focus is on refining how ecosystem tokens are introduced, tested, and understood by real participants inside the Pi environment. In this video, we are going to break everything down in a clear, structured, and easy-to-follow way so you can understand what is happening with the new Slice test token launch, why it matters, what has changed since the last experiment, and how all of this connects to the broader Pi Network ecosystem development journey. This video is for informational purposes only and is not financial advice. Always do your own research or consult a professional before making any investment decisions. At the center of this update is the Pi Core team, which has officially opened access for participation in a new test token event called Slice, hosted on the Pi Launchpad. This event is not just a random release, but part of a structured testing phase that is designed to simulate how future ecosystem tokens may behave once Pi Network fully transitions into its mainnet environment. The Slice participation window is open until Pi Today on June 28th, which gives users a limited but meaningful time frame to engage with the system, explore its updated mechanics, and provide feedback based on real interaction. Unlike earlier experimental phases, this version is built with a stronger emphasis on simplicity and user understanding, especially for newcomers who may not be deeply familiar with blockchain mechanics or staking systems. To understand why this new Slice test is important, it is necessary to look back at what happened during the previous test token experiment known as IRRA. That earlier event was one of the most significant community testing phases in Pi Network's ecosystem history. It successfully attracted a massive level of participation, with hundreds of thousands of users joining in to explore how the Launchpad system worked in practice. The participation numbers were impressive by any standard, especially for a test environment. However, while engagement was high, the experience itself revealed several areas where users struggled to fully understand the process. This is exactly the type of feedback the Pi Core team needed in order to refine the system further. During the IRRA test token phase, over 478,000 pioneers participated in total. This level of involvement demonstrated that the community is highly active and willing to engage with experimental ecosystem features. In terms of resource commitment, users collectively staked more than 36.05 million test Pi. Additionally, around 198,000 participants actively committed approximately 14.72 million test Pi during the process. Ultimately, about 11.71 million of those committed tokens were used to acquire 10 million IRRA tokens within the test environment. These numbers are important because they provide a real-world behavioral dataset for the Pi Core team, allowing them to study how users interact with token allocation systems when real value simulation is involved, even if the tokens themselves are not transferable to Mainnet. What the IRRA test revealed is not just the strength of community engagement, but also the complexity issues present in the original Launchpad model. Many users were unsure about the difference between staking and committing. Some participants completed the staking stage, but failed to proceed to the commitment phase, which meant their participation was incomplete. Others did complete both steps, but allocated amounts that were too small relative to their overall stake, which reduced the efficiency and effectiveness of their participation outcome. These patterns highlighted a clear communication gap in how the system was structured and how users interpreted the instructions. Because of this feedback, the Pi Core team decided to redesign the Launchpad participation model in a way that significantly reduces confusion and improves clarity. The main goal of the updated system is to simplify the entire process so that users can focus on decision-making rather than struggling with multiple technical steps. In the new Slice model, the process begins directly with commitment selection. Instead of separating staking and committing into different mental and procedural steps, users now simply choose the amount of test Pi they want to commit upfront. Once a user selects their commitment amount, the system automatically calculates the required fair access hold. This is an important improvement because it removes guesswork from the process. Users no longer need to manually figure out how much is required for participation or how different steps interact with each other. Everything is displayed in a single interface, where users can immediately see three key values before confirming: the commitment amount, the hold amount, and the total requirement needed to proceed. This streamlined approach significantly reduces confusion and makes the Launchpad experience more accessible, especially for newer users who are still learning how ecosystem token mechanics function. Another important difference in this Slice launch compared to the previous IRRA test is the integration with a real ecosystem application. Slice is not just an isolated test token with no context. Instead, it is connected to an actual Pi ecosystem application known as Slice of Pi. This connection matters because it allows the Pi core team to evaluate not just theoretical participation, but real engagement behavior within a functioning application environment. In other words, this test is not only about token mechanics, but also about how users interact with ecosystem utilities that are designed to use Pi-based features. Slice of Pi is positioned as a gaming application within the Pi ecosystem. It integrates Pi-based payments and also connects with the Pi ad network, allowing developers and the Pi network ecosystem to observe how users behave inside a real application environment that uses ecosystem tools. This provides a more realistic dataset compared to earlier tests that were purely simulation-based. By observing how users engage with gameplay, payments, and ad interactions, developers can gain better insights into what types of applications are likely to succeed once Mainnet ecosystem expansion continues. At the same time, it is important to clearly understand the nature of Slice as a test asset. The Pi core team has emphasized that Slice remains strictly a testnet token. It is not designed to transition into Mainnet, and there is no future plan for it to become a tradable or long-term ecosystem asset. Its purpose is strictly educational and experimental. The focus is on learning, testing system behavior, improving user experience, and refining ecosystem mechanics before real Mainnet token launches begin in the future. This distinction is crucial because it prevents misunderstandings about value expectations and ensures users understand that participation is primarily for testing and feedback purposes. One of the most important improvements introduced in this update is the redesign of the fair access hold system. In earlier versions of the Launchpad model, concepts like staking and Pi power created confusion among users, especially when it came to understanding how allocations were determined. The updated fair access hold system replaces those older structures with a more transparent and predictable mechanism. Under this new system, the amount of Pi a user commits directly influences the size of their hold requirement. Larger commitments naturally require larger holds, while smaller commitments require smaller holds. This structure is designed with fairness in mind. It helps prevent situations where a small number of large participants dominate the allocation process, while still allowing smaller participants to remain competitive within the same framework. Importantly, held Pi is not lost or spent. It remains fully owned by the user throughout the process and is returned after the hold period ends. This ensures that participation does not result in permanent loss of assets within the test environment, which helps maintain trust and encourages broader participation across different user levels. Another key refinement in this updated model is the introduction of a deterministic ratio between commitment and hold. This means that calculations are fixed and predictable, rather than variable or confusing. Users can clearly understand what will happen before they confirm participation, which significantly improves transparency. By reducing uncertainty, the Pi core team is aiming to create a smoother onboarding experience for users who may not have prior experience with blockchain-based allocation systems. Beyond the Launchpad improvements, there is also ongoing attention on the market performance of Pi itself. At the time of this update, Pi is trading around the $0.131 level. Over the past 24 hours, the token has experienced a modest pullback of approximately 3.4% after reaching an intraday high close to $0.135. This type of movement reflects normal short-term volatility, especially in broader crypto market conditions, where altcoins often experience synchronized fluctuations. Despite this short-term decline, Pi has managed to maintain an important support zone between $0.128 and $0.130. This level is significant because price action has repeatedly shown buyers stepping in whenever the market approaches this range. It indicates that there is consistent demand at lower levels, even during periods of short-term weakness. In addition, trading volume has increased by around 5% during the same period, suggesting that market participation remains active even when price direction is slightly negative. From a technical perspective, the immediate resistance level for Pi is located near $0.135. If the price manages to break above this zone with strong momentum, the next potential target area could be between $0.144 and $0.150. This range has historically acted as a strong resistance barrier, where upward movements have previously slowed down or reversed. A successful breakout above it would likely signal renewed bullish momentum and could attract additional short-term interest from traders watching key technical levels. When we step back and look at the overall situation, the Slice test token launch and the broader Pi Launchpad improvements show a clear direction from the Pi core team. The focus is not just on expanding features, but on making those features more understandable, more accessible, and more aligned with real user behavior. By simplifying participation, reducing multi-step confusion, and connecting tests to real ecosystem applications, Pi Network is gradually building a more structured environment for future Mainnet ecosystem expansion. To summarize everything, this latest Slice Test token launch represents an important evolution in how Pi Network is approaching ecosystem development. It builds directly on the lessons learned from the IRRA experiment, especially in terms of user confusion and process complexity. The new model simplifies participation into a single, commitment-based system, introduces a clearer, fair access hold mechanism, and connects testing to a real ecosystem application in Slice of Pi. At the same time, Slice remains strictly a test token with no mainnet future, meaning its purpose is entirely focused on learning and system improvement. Meanwhile, PI's market performance continues to show steady support levels despite short-term fluctuations, indicating ongoing interest and activity within the ecosystem. Overall, this update reflects a broader strategy of gradual refinement, where each testing phase is used to improve the next. If these improvements continue consistently, they could play a significant role in shaping how Pi Network transitions from its testing environment into a fully functioning mainnet ecosystem in the future. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications so you never miss the next update. See you in the next one.